Commander Alex Harrison took a deep breath as he walked up to the speaking platform. The huge round room of the Galactic Council fell quiet. Thousands of alien eyes turned to watch him. Some of these beings had skin like metal. Others floated in tanks of colored liquid. A few were just clouds of light. All of them were waiting to hear what the human would say. Alex cleared his throat. His blue uniform felt tight around his neck. The silver earth pin on his chest caught the light as he moved. For 300 years, humanity has tried to work with this council, he said. His voice was strong and clear. For 300 years, we have followed your rules. We have limited our growth. We have shared our discoveries. We have fought in your wars. He paused and looked around the room. The Vorax representative shifted in his gravity chair. His gray skin wrinkled with worry. Ambassador Zelnara of the Arcturian Dominion tapped her 4 fingers on the table. Her yellow eyes narrowed. And what have we gotten in return? Alex continued. You treat us like children. You hide knowledge from us. You limit where we can go and what we can build. No more. He pressed a button on his wrist device. A large screen behind him lit up with the official paper. The words Earth Withdrawal Notice flashed in 10 different alien languages. As of today, Earth and all human colonies are no longer part of the Galactic Council. We will make our own path among the stars. The room exploded with noise. Some aliens shouted. Others made high whistling sounds. A few simply vanished from their seats, using technology humans weren't allowed to have. The council leader, an ancient being named Grital, whose skin looked like polished wood, raised all 3 of her hands. The room slowly quieted. Commander Harrison, she said, her voice soft but somehow filling the whole chamber. This is a grave mistake. The council does not exist to hold species back. It exists to protect. There are dangers. Save your scare. Stories, Alex cut in. We've heard them all before. The boogeyman beyond the stars, the ancient enemies, the void creatures. For 3 centuries, you've used these tales to keep us in line. We're done listening. He nodded to the 20 human representatives seated behind him. As one, they stood and began to walk toward the exit. Alex turned his back on the council leader, a final show of disrespect. As they neared the huge golden doors, he heard a whisper from the Arcturian ambassador to her Vorax neighbor. They don't understand what they've done. Alex pretended not to hear. He led his people out of Proxima Station, the massive structure built in the perfect center point between 7 star systems. Their shuttles were waiting to take them back to the Earth ship orbiting nearby. Captain Laura Bennett met him at the ship's entrance. Her normally calm face showed worry. Is it done? She asked. Alex nodded. Freedom at last. The journey back to Earth took 3 days. Even with the advanced drives the Council had permitted humans to use. During that time, Alex prepared his speech. Earth's leaders had trusted him to represent humanity. Now he would tell them how he had set their species free. When they arrived, Alex was surprised to see celebrations had already started. News of the withdrawal had spread fast. On the main viewing screen, he could see crowds filling the streets of New York, London, Beijing, and Cairo. People waved flags and set off fireworks. Signs read, "Humans first, and no more alien rules." Admiral Catherine Winters met him at the Umwur spaceport. Unlike the celebrating crowds, her face was grim. "You've done it then," she said. "I did what was right," Alex replied. "You were the only one who voted against the withdrawal. Now you'll see how wrong you were." Catherine's eyes looked tired. "The Council's rules weren't prison bars, Alex. They were shield walls," Alex laughed. "That's what they wanted you to think. We'll show everyone how well humans can do on our own." The next day, Alex gave his speech to thundering applause. Earth's president shook his hand for the cameras. Military leaders promised a new age of expansion and discovery without the Council's limits. Scientists talked excitedly about research that had been forbidden. Only Admiral Winters remained quiet during the celebrations. In her office at Strategic Command, she watched the long-range sensors with growing fear. She alone had studied the ancient Council protocols, the real reasons behind their restrictions. She alone understood what protection they had provided. 5 days after Earth's withdrawal, the first warning came. The colony on New Montana reported strange readings at their system edge. Unknown ships with configurations never seen before. Then, silence. Within hours, 2 more colonies reported similar sightings. By evening, 7 human outposts had gone dark. Catherine rushed into the emergency meeting called by Earth's leaders. Their faces had lost the joy of the previous days. "What's happening?" the president demanded. Catherine pulled up the sensor data. "They were waiting for this," she said. "The predators. The species the Council has been keeping away from developing worlds. They knew the moment our protection ended." Alex stared at the screens in horror as the first images came in from New Seattle Colony. Black ships shaped like twisted hands descended through the clouds. Buildings crumbled. People ran screaming. "The Council wasn't holding us back," Catherine said quietly. "It was holding them back." A young lieutenant rushed in with new reports. "Admiral, we're getting distress calls from the Jupiter mining stations. Something's coming through from the outer system." On the screen, the president of New Seattle Colony appeared. His face was bloody. Fires burned behind him. "They're taking everything," he gasped. "People, technology, resources. They say we're unclaimed now. They say we're fair game." The transmission cut out. The room fell silent. Alex felt the weight of 300 human colonies pressing down on him. Billions of lives, all now unprotected in a universe suddenly full of hunters. "Get me a secure channel to Proxima Station," Catherine ordered. Tell them we made a mistake." But as the communications officer tried to make the connection, another report came in. The space between Earth and Proxima Station was no longer safe. The paths that had been protected for centuries by Council beacons were now filled with predator ships. Earth was alone, and the universe, stirring with ancient hungers, had begun to close in. Lieutenant Gregory Walsh gripped the controls of his fighter ship as he flew through the burning sky of New Seattle. Below him, the colony city was in flames. The Shikari ships hung above like giant black spiders, their energy beams cutting through buildings and streets. "This is Walsh," he said into his radio. "I'm making another pass at the main harvester. Any other fighters still out there?" Static answered him. Gregory checked his radar. Out of the 20 fighters that had launched to defend the colony, only his showed on the screen now. He pushed his ship into a steep dive. The harvester was a massive black vessel with dozens of tubes hanging down. Those tubes were taking people, machines, anything of value. Gregory had seen hundreds of colonists pulled up into that monster. He had also seen what happened to the ones who fought back. His weapons were almost gone. Just one missile left. He locked onto the harvester and fired. The missile streaked toward the alien ship. A flash of light. A small explosion on the harvester's side. Then nothing. The monster ship didn't even seem to notice. Gregory slammed his fist on the console. "Useless!" His radio crackled. "Lieutenant Walsh, this is Colonial Headquarters. We've got the last shuttles loading now. We need you to buy us 10 more minutes." Gregory looked at his fuel gauge. It was nearly empty. "I'll give you what I can." He swung his fighter around and headed for the 3 smaller Shikari ships that were moving toward the spaceport. With no missiles left, he had only his guns. They were like throwing rocks at tanks. Still, he opened fire. The Shikari ships turned toward him. That was the point. Draw them away from the escaping shuttles. Beam of energy shot past his wing. Another grazed his ship's nose. Gregory rolled and twisted, using every trick he had learned in flight school. The Shikari were fast, but their big ships couldn't match his fighters' moves. 5 more minutes, Lieutenant, the radio said. "Make it fast," Gregory answered. His ship shuddered as something hit the back. Warning lights flashed across his controls. 4 minutes, 3, 2. "The last shuttle is away," the radio finally announced. "Get out of there, Walsh!" Gregory turned his damaged fighter toward space. The engine coughed and sputtered. The Shikari were closing in behind him. He knew he wouldn't make it, but the shuttles were safe. Thousands of people would escape because of those few extra minutes. Gregory opened a wide channel, broadcasting to anyone who might hear. This is Lieutenant Gregory Walsh of New Seattle Colony. If anyone gets this, listen carefully. They were waiting for this. The Council wasn't holding us back, it was holding them back. His fighter exploded in a ball of fire. On Earth, in the underground command center below what was once called Denver, Admiral Catherine Winters watched the final transmission from New Seattle. Lieutenant Walsh's last words played again on the big screen. They were waiting for this. The Council wasn't holding us back, it was holding them back. The room was silent. Earth's leaders sat around a long table, their faces pale in the blue light of the screens. Maps showed the status of human colonies. Too many were now marked with red X's. 3 weeks, President Alan Morgan said. His voice was hollow. Just 3 weeks since we left the Council, and we've lost 17 colonies. Not just lost, Catherine corrected. Harvested. The Shakari don't destroy. They take people, technology, resources, everything. Commander Alex Harrison sat at the far end of the table. The man who had proudly announced humanity's withdrawal now looked like he had aged 20 years. His hands shook as he looked at the reports. We didn't know, he whispered. Some of us tried to tell you, Catherine said. She turned to the others. The Council knew this would happen. They've seen it before. New species join, learn the rules, get restless, and leave. Then they get eaten. Why didn't they warn us more clearly, a general demanded. They did, said a new voice. All heads turned. Dr. Victoria Maxwell, the top expert on alien cultures, stood in the doorway. She carried a stack of old paper files. I've been going through the original Council membership documents, she said, walking to the table. The ones from 300 years ago. The warnings were all there. We just didn't want to hear them. She opened a file and read, Member species agree to certain limitations for mutual protection against non-member predatory entities. We thought. They were talking about pirates or outlaws, Alex said. No, Victoria replied. They were talking about the Shakari, the Hive Collective, the Void Walkers. Species that see others as resources, not equals. Species the Council has been holding back for thousands of years. Catherine stood up. We need to get back to the Council. Ask for protection. We can't, President Morgan said. We've lost contact with Proxima Station. All the safe routes are cut off. The predators are between us and them now. Then we fight, Catherine said. She touched a control, and the big screen changed to show Earth's defenses. Hundreds of ships, orbital platforms, planetary shields. We've got the largest fleet humanity has ever built. We use it. Against enemies with technology thousands of years ahead of ours? Victoria asked. We adapt, Catherine said firmly. We learn. We survived on Earth by outsmarting stronger predators. We'll do it again. The meeting went on for hours. Plans were made. Ships were moved. But everyone knew they were just buying time. As dawn broke over the ruins of what had been a great human civilization among the stars, a small ship appeared at the edge of the Sol system. It moved carefully, avoiding detection. On board was a single human, former Ambassador Patricia Reyes. She had not returned to Earth after the withdrawal. She sent a coded message to Admiral Winters only. There's another way. Not all Council members wanted us to leave. Some are still willing to help. But we need to find something first. An artifact called the Concordance. Meet my ship at the old lunar base. Come alone. As Catherine read the message, alarms sounded across Earth's defense network. A massive fleet of Shakari ships had appeared near Jupiter. The attack on humanity's homeworld had begun. Admiral Catherine Winters moved quickly through the old tunnels beneath the lunar base. The air was stale and cold. Her breath made little clouds in front of her face. Behind her, 2 trusted guards watched for any signs of danger. 6 months had passed since the first attacks. 6 terrible months of what people now called the Vulnerability War. Humanity was losing on all fronts. The Shakari had taken 12 colony worlds. The bug-like Hive Collective had absorbed 3 more, turning human settlers into mindless workers. The strange Void Walkers, Beings made partly of dark energy had claimed the entire Tau Ceti system. Earth itself was under constant attack. The Bao shields were holding, but barely. Food was becoming scarce. Hope was fading. Catherine reached the hidden landing bay where Patricia Reyes waited. The former ambassador looked thin and tired, but her eyes were bright with purpose. "You came alone?" Patricia asked. "As alone as I dare," Catherine replied, nodding at her guards. Patricia gestured to her small ship. "We don't have much time. Earth's defenses will fail within weeks, maybe days. You said there was another way. A way back to the Council's protection, not back," Patricia said. "Forward. The Council can't simply take us back after we left. The ancient rules don't allow it. Then what?" "The Concordance," Patricia said. She pressed a button on her wrist device, showing a hologram of a strange object. It looked like a sphere made of flowing light and symbols. "It predates the Council itself. It contains the original founding principles and protocols. How does that help us? It contains override codes, ways to change the rules in extreme situations." Catherine frowned. "If it's so important, why doesn't the Council use it?" "Because it was stolen, thousands of years ago," said a new voice. Catherine turned. A tall, thin alien stepped out of the shadows of Patricia's ship. His skin was pale blue. His 4 arms were folded across his chest. "This is Clevan," Patricia said. "A council elder, one of the few who wanted to help us." Clevan bowed slightly. "My species once faced what humans face now. We left the council thinking it held us back. We were nearly wiped out before we understood our mistake." Catherine studied the alien. "Why help us? We made our choice." "Because what hunts you now will not stop with humans," Clevan said. "The predators grow stronger with each world they take. Eventually they will challenge the council itself. What's your plan?" Patricia pulled up a star map. "The Concordance is hidden on a world deep in Shakari territory. We have to retrieve it." Catherine laughed bitterly. "That's your plan? Fly into the heart of enemy space and steal their most guarded treasure?" "Yes," Patricia said simply. "And I know who can do it. Captain Samuel Phillips." Back on Earth, Captain Samuel Phillips stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiant, Earth's newest and most advanced warship. It was built in secret before the withdrawal, using every bit of technology humans had learned from the Council. It was faster, more heavily armed, and had better shields than any other human vessel. It was also Earth's last hope. Samuel watched as his crew prepared for their next mission. They had been running defense for refugee ships, protecting them from Shakari raiders. But now they had new orders. "Captain," his second-in-command called. "Admiral Winters is back. She's requesting permission to come aboard with 2 guests." Samuel raised an eyebrow. "Guests? In the middle of a war?" "1 human, 1 alien, sir. An alien on a human warship, that was new. Let them aboard, meet me in the secure room." 30 minutes later, Samuel listened as Admiral Winters explained their desperate mission. His face remained calm, but inside, his mind raced with calculations and possibilities. "This is a suicide mission," he said when they finished. "Probably," Catherine admitted. "But if we do nothing, Earth falls anyway." Samuel looked at the alien. "Clevan, no offense, but why should we trust you? The Council let us walk away knowing what would happen." "The Council is bound by its own ancient rules," Clevan said. "We could not force you to stay. We could not pursue you once you left. But some of us found ways to help within those limitations." "Like hiding one of our ambassadors?" Patricia smiled. "I went willingly. I voted against leaving, remember? Like Admiral Winters." "You need someone who knows the Shakari," Samuel said. "I've fought them for 6 months. I've studied their tactics, their technology. But infiltrating their homeworld is exactly the kind of impossible mission the Defiant was built for," Catherine finished. Samuel was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "When do we leave?" "Immediately," Patricia said. "We'll need one more person. Dr. Victoria Maxwell." The Xenohistorian. Why? Because the concordance isn't just a device. It's a record, a living history. She's the only one who might be able to understand it. 2 days later, the Defiant slipped away from Earth. Using stealth technology and routes mapped by Klavan, they avoided Shakari patrols. The journey would take weeks, even at their highest speed. During that time, Victoria Maxwell worked closely with Klavan, learning everything she could about the concordance and the true history of the Council. The Council didn't form as a political body, she realized one day, looking up from ancient texts Klavan had brought. It formed as a defense pact against something worse than the predator species. Klavan's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Yes, the predators are merely the first wave. Beyond the galaxy's edge waits something far worse, something that sees developing worlds as food. Victoria felt cold fear crawl up her spine. What are they? We do not speak their true name, Klavan said, but they have been held back for thousands of years by the Council's defense network, a network that no longer extends to human space. On the bridge, Samuel received the latest news from Earth. The Shakari had broken through the outer defenses. They had destroyed 3 of the 7 shield generators. Admiral Winter's last fleet was fighting a desperate holding action. How long? He asked his communications officer. At this rate, Earth has maybe 2 weeks before the shields fail completely. Samuel looked out at the stars streaking past. Can we go any faster? Not without the engines exploding, sir. 2 weeks to reach the Shakari homeworld. 2 weeks for Earth's defenses to hold. And even if they found the concordance, 2 more weeks to get back. Samuel's hands tightened on the rail. Then we'd better find a shortcut. The Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a small red star. The ship's engines hummed softly as it drifted, running on minimal power to avoid detection. On the bridge, Captain Samuel Phillips studied the holographic display showing the Shakari homeworld. It was a massive planet with rings of debris and defensive stations circling it. That's a lot of guns, he said quietly. Patricia Reyes nodded. The Shakari protect their home better than anywhere else. No outsider has seen the surface in thousands of years. Until today, Samuel said. He turned to his crew. Activate the cloak. The Defiant disappeared from view as its experimental cloaking system engaged. It was another technology built from Council science, but pushed further than the Council had allowed. The ship could remain invisible for 6 hours before the systems would overheat. We have one shot at this, Samuel told the small team gathered in the launch bay. Dr. Victoria Maxwell checked her equipment nervously. Klavan stood motionless, his 4 eyes blinking occasionally as he watched the humans prepare. Patricia loaded a weapon and slipped it into her belt. The concordance will be in their central archive. The Shakari don't understand its full power, but they know it's valuable. How do we get past their defenses? Victoria asked. Samuel pointed to a small shuttle. That's not one of ours. We captured it from a Shakari raiding party 3 months ago. We've modified it to fool their systems into thinking it's returning from a mission. And if they check inside? Victoria asked. Klavan stepped forward. I will handle that part. My species has certain mental abilities the Shakari find difficult to counter. 4 hours later, the stolen shuttle approached the Shakari world. The planet grew larger in the view screen, its black and red surface looking harsh and uninviting. Massive cities spread like dark webs across the land. Incoming transmission, Samuel said. Here we go. A harsh voice spoke in the clicking Shakari language. Klavan responded smoothly. There was a pause, then more clicking. Sweat formed on Samuel's forehead as he waited. Finally, the voice stopped. A new set of coordinates appeared on their navigation system. We're cleared to land, Klavan said. But they're suspicious. We need to move quickly once we're down. The shuttle descended through thick clouds of red gas. Below, the Shakari capital spread out like a massive spiderweb made of black metal. Towers reached into the sky. Flying vehicles moved between them in orderly lines. They landed on a small platform, near the edge of the city. As the engines shut down, Clavan closed his eyes and seemed to concentrate. The guards are confused about our arrival, he explained. They will check their records again. That gives us perhaps 20 minutes. They moved quickly from the shuttle, using small personal cloaking devices to avoid being seen. The streets were filled with Shikari. They moved with purpose, their 8-limbed bodies sliding smoothly over the ground. Some walked on all 8 limbs like spiders. Others stood upright on 4 limbs, using the other 4 as arms. The central archive is there, Clavan whispered, pointing to a massive dome in the distance. That's at least a mile away, Victoria said. We'll never make it on foot without being spotted. Samuel pointed to a transport tube running toward the dome. We won't go on foot. They waited until a cargo pod stopped nearby. When the Shakari worker stepped away, the team slipped inside. The pod shot forward along the tube, carrying them toward the heart of the enemy city. Remember, Patricia said as they traveled, the concordance isn't a weapon. It's knowledge. The original founding principles of the Galactic Council, before the Shakari were cast out. Why were they cast out? Victoria asked. Clavan's voice was grim. They tried to use the concordance to control the defense network for themselves alone. They wanted to let the outer darkness in, to feed on their enemies while protecting only themselves. The pod slowed as it approached the dome. They slipped out before it stopped completely, finding themselves in a massive loading area. Above them, the dome rose hundreds of feet. The walls were lined with what looked like glowing shelves. The archives, Clavan whispered. Millions of years of knowledge. How do we find one artifact in all this? Samuel asked. Victoria stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. It's not about where, it's about when. The concordance would be from the founding era of the Council. She pulled out a small device and began scanning. Clavan gave me the energy signature to look for. It should be there. She pointed to a section high up in the dome. A faint blue glow pulsed among the thousands of artifacts. How do we get up there? Samuel asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the building. Harsh voices echoed from speakers. They've discovered our deception, Clavan said. We have minutes at most. Samuel looked around frantically. Then he saw it, a maintenance lift near one wall. There! They ran for the lift as doors around the archive slammed shut. The lift rose quickly toward the glowing section. Victoria's hands shook as she checked her scanner. Almost there, she said. Just a little higher. The lift stopped with a jerk. Victoria reached out and grabbed a small spherical object from a shelf. It pulsed with blue light, symbols flowing across its surface like water. The concordance, she breathed. Below them, the main doors burst open. Dozens of Shakari warriors poured in, weapons ready. Now what? Patricia asked. Samuel pointed to a ceiling panel. Up. The maintenance shafts should lead to the roof. We'll signal the Defiant for extraction. As they climbed through the panel, energy beams struck the lift. Metal melted and sparked. They crawled quickly through dark tunnels, the sounds of pursuit growing louder behind them. Finally, they reached a hatch. Samuel pushed it open and they emerged onto the roof of the dome. The red sky of the Shakari world stretched above them. In the distance, they could see the spaceport where their shuttle waited, now surrounded by enemy ships. We'll never reach it, Patricia said. Samuel touched his communication device. Defiant, this is Phillips. Emergency extraction. 4 to beam up. Static answered him. The ship was too far away, still hiding beyond the planet's rings. Now what? Victoria clutched the concordance tightly. A door burst open across the roof. Shakari warriors poured out, their weapons aimed at the humans. Give us the artifact, one of them demanded in broken human language. Samuel stepped forward, placing himself between the Shakari and his team. You'll have to come through me first. As the Shakari advanced, the sky suddenly lit up. A massive explosion bloomed among the defense platforms orbiting the planet. Then another, and another. What's happening? Victoria gasped. Clavan looked up, his 4 eyes wide. The Council. They've come. The sky above the Shakari world filled with bright flashes as more explosions bloomed among the orbital defenses. The Shakari warriors on the roof looked up, their attention split between the humans and the battle above. Samuel used the moment of confusion. He pulled out his last weapon, a small grenade that released a cloud of blinding gas. The Shakari hissed and stumbled back as the cloud spread across the roof. "Run!" Samuel shouted. They sprinted across the roof, looking for any way down. Victoria clutched the concordance tightly to her chest. The sphere pulsed with blue light, the symbols on its surface moving faster now, as if sensing the danger. "There!" Patricia pointed to a small landing pad on the edge of the dome. A single Shakari flyer sat waiting. Clavan moved quickly to the flyer's controls. "I can operate this, but we need to hurry." As they climbed aboard, the comm device on Samuel's wrist suddenly came to life. "Captain Phillips, this is the Defiant. Do you read me?" Samuel's heart jumped. "Defiant, this is Phillips. We have the D package and need immediate extraction. 4 to pick up." "Negative on extraction, sir. We're engaged with Shakari warships. The Council fleet is here. They're creating a corridor for you to escape. Get to orbit and we'll rendezvous at these coordinates." The flyer lifted off as more Shakari poured onto the roof. Energy beams struck around them, but Clavan piloted the craft with surprising skill, weaving between the towers of the alien city. "Look!" Victoria pointed ahead. Above the planet, a massive space battle raged. Council ships of various designs fought against the black vessels of the Shakari. Explosions lit up the darkness. Through the chaos, Samuel could see a path being cleared, a corridor of relative safety leading away from the planet. "They're helping us escape," he said in wonder. "Not us," Clavan corrected. "The concordance. Its return changes everything." The flyer shook as a Shakari fighter targeted them. Samuel grabbed the weapon controls and fired back. The enemy ship exploded, but 2 more took its place. "We'll never make it to the rendezvous," Patricia said. Victoria looked down at the concordance in her hands. The symbols were flowing even faster now, some of them detaching from the surface to float in the air around it. "It's activating," she said. "It knows it's been found." "Can you use it?" Samuel asked. "I don't know how," Victoria admitted. Clavan reached over with one of his 4 hands. "Let me." He touched the floating symbols, rearranging them in a pattern. The concordance pulsed brightly, then projected a beam of light toward the battle above. A moment later, all the Council ships began broadcasting the same signal. The Shakari vessels froze. Their weapons powered down. "What did you do?" Samuel asked. "The override code," Clavan explained. "The concordance contains the original defense protocols. The Shakari are bound by them, deep in their programming. They must obey." The Defiant appeared nearby, its side airlock open. Clavan guided the flyer inside, landing roughly in the small bay. Crew members rushed to meet them. "Get us out of here," Samuel ordered as they reached the bridge. "Maximum speed to Earth." The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the Shakari world behind. In the conference room, Victoria carefully placed the concordance on the table. Its glow had dimmed slightly, but the symbols still moved across its surface. "What exactly is this thing?" she asked. "It's not just a record or a key." "It is the original mind of the Council," Clavan said. "Created before any of our species joined. It contains the wisdom that established the defense network against the outer darkness." "And it can save Earth?" Samuel asked. "Perhaps. But we must hurry. Even with the override code, the Shakari will recover." The journey back to Earth took just 4 days with the Defiant's engines pushed beyond safety limits. As they approached, Samuel received the latest reports. The situation was dire. The Shakari had broken through Earth's shields in multiple places. Parts of Asia and North America were under direct attack. The last defensive fleet led by Admiral Winters was fighting a losing battle in orbit. "We're too late," Patricia whispered as they watched the planet come into view. Fires were visible. On the night side, the orbital platforms were mostly destroyed. "No," Victoria said firmly. She had spent the journey studying the concordance with Clavan. "We can still use this." But we need to broadcast its signal from the main communication array in Geneva. It's the only transmitter powerful enough to reach all the predator species at once. Geneva is under attack, Samuel said, checking the latest reports. Then that's where we're going. The Defiant dove into Earth's atmosphere, using its advanced shields to protect against the Shikari weapons firing from below. Geneva was a battlefield. Alien harvesters moved through the streets. Human soldiers fought desperately to hold key positions. The Council headquarters, once Earth's link to galactic civilization, stood in the center of the city. Its communication array was still intact, rising above the fighting. We'll land on the roof, Samuel decided. Fast drop, get the concordance to the transmitter, then get out. The ship descended rapidly. As they neared the roof, a Shikari fighter appeared from nowhere, firing directly at their engines. The Defiant shuddered as warnings blared across the bridge. We're losing power, the engineer shouted. Get us to the roof, Samuel ordered. Even if we crash. The ship scraped against the building's side, tearing off parts of its hull before slamming down on the roof. The impact threw everyone forward. Smoke filled the bridge. Everyone out, Samuel shouted. They stumbled from the damaged ship. Victoria held the concordance tightly. The transmitter array stood just 50 feet away, but Shikari were already climbing onto the roof from the lower floors. Cover me, Victoria said, running toward the array. Samuel, Patricia, and the surviving crew members formed a line, firing at the approaching Shikari. Kulvan used his mental abilities to confuse some of the aliens, making them fire at each other. Victoria reached the transmitter controls. She placed the concordance in the central socket, where it fit perfectly, as if made for this moment. The array hummed to life, drawing power from the sphere. Across Earth, the attacking ship suddenly stopped. The harvesters froze in the streets. Every predator species received the same ancient command buried deep in their genetic memory. Stand down. Return to your territories. The Council's protection extends once more to this world. In Geneva, the Shikari began to retreat. Their ships lifted off from cities around the world. Admiral Winters, watching from what remained of her command center, couldn't believe her eyes. What happened? She asked as Samuel's message came through. We found the backup plan, Samuel replied. And humanity is rejoining the Council, this time with open eyes.